sometimes all I need is for someone to say, oh, I'm really sorry. That sounds really hard. I see you. And I can relate to that. And it sucks. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Hi, Tony. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. It's another Monday morning, and what a great start to the week. Been busy running around doing PureGame stuff already. Got some good communication things going on. So all good. How about you? And where are you this week?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you are feeling good, starting off the week on that note. I'm okay. I made it to Bend, Oregon, which is nice. That's where I'm hoping to set down some roots. We'll see what happens. We'll see where I end up. Don't know. But I'm having more van issues, unfortunately. And I paid a mechanic to do something last week that I have to redo myself this afternoon anyway. So the joys of that. But I will learn a lot about replacing an alternator today. So.
Oh, that's sweet. Alternators so much fun. Yeah, they're so much fun.
Also, I don't want to mess it up.
Yes.
We'll see. Yeah. Okay, so this is where you could tell me something like, oh, just be positive, it'll work out. Or good vibes, I'm sending good vibes your way. Or some other sentence that might sound really nice and encouraging. However, it can really just turn into invalidating my experience. And that is what we're talking about today, toxic positivity. And that is a term that maybe not all of you have heard, but maybe you've heard some of those phrases. And I'm going to read some more to you that you might have heard, and maybe you say yourself. And then I'll get into why we're talking about it and what we think might be a healthier way to approach life and encouraging people. So don't worry, be happy. Failure is not an option. Everything will work out in the end. Don't think about it. Stay positive. Positive vibes only. Delete negativity. Look for the silver lining. Everything happens for a reason. It could be worse. These are all things that, maybe not all things. I've maybe said some of these things or versions of these things. I know some people in my life that have said things to me. And honestly, it doesn't actually feel good when they tell me these things, because they're skipping over the fact that I'm having a hard time, which is a normal part of life. And then I feel invalidated. And then I start to do that same process to myself. And I'm really just ignoring all my emotions and then bottling them up and pretending like I'm fine and putting on a happy face. And then really on the inside, I'm hurting.
My inclination when you said about the alternator was, I was really tempted to say, well, everything happens for a reason. You'll be good. And that is that false toxic positivity, right? It sucks. And I'm sorry that you're having problems with your van, and I'm sorry that you've got to fix someone else's error, and it's a pain, and it's a real pain. So I just want to put that out there as yeah, I get it.
Thank you. And that helps me actually feel seen, encouraged, supported. But if you had just told me, oh, everything happens for a reason, and be like, oh, cool. So everything else that kind of goes wrong a lot for me is just like for a reason. And I'm supposed to learn a lesson out of all of these things. And there's not to say that we can't learn things from our challenges. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is the toxic positivity part, when that's all you say to someone, just invalidates the human experience.
And really what it does is it says that I'm really not listening to you.
Exactly.
That's really what it says. That's great. Everything will be fine. I don't care. So let's move on with the conversation.
Mm-hmm. And what it also says or shows, and this might not be true all the time, because I know humans tend to have more capacity than sometimes we give them credit for. But maybe in that moment, this is what it means. It means that, oh, you're having a hard time, but I can't handle your feelings. So let's skip over it so that I don't have to feel bad about feeling your feelings or hearing about your hard feelings, because that's too hard for me, and I'm sorry, I can't handle it. So I'm just gonna pretend like I don't know what you're dealing with and just tell you that everything is gonna be okay, and then I'm gonna walk away and let you deal with your own problem. And that's what happens with toxic positivity, because we end up not actually supporting each other. There are things that we can say that are positive to encourage people, and sometimes we do need that little push. But again, that's not what we're talking about. So I found this article by an organization called the Psychology Group, and I really like the way they talk about toxic positivity. And this is the article I drew a lot of those examples from I gave at the beginning. I'm going to include the link to this article below if you're interested and want to read more about it. Here is what they define as toxic positivity. I'm going to read it. We define toxic positivity as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. The process of toxic positivity results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. So I'm going to read some of those statements I read at the beginning again, and then I'm going to read maybe a version that's actually more supportive and something that you could say to someone when they've just told you that they're having a hard time. Don't think about it, stay positive. Instead, you could say, describe what you're feeling, I'm listening. What about, don't worry, be happy? Instead, you could say, I see that you're really stressed. Anything I can do? Failure is not an option. Or, failure is a part of growth and success. Everything will work out in the end. Or, this is really hard, I'm thinking of you. Positive vibes only. I'm here for you, both good and bad. Let me pick one more. Everything happens for a reason. Instead, you could say, sometimes we can draw the short straw in life. How can I support you during this hard time? So what do you think of all that, Tony?
It's really interesting how when you combine what you said earlier about this is too tough for me to handle, and what all of the things we could say, it's interesting to me because sometimes I've got an emotional overload, right? And to hear your struggle, I'm sitting there going, I'm full up right now, right? I can't deal with what you've got. So I'm just going to throw in a snippet of conversation as something to answer you. And I think it's actually better for everyone involved to say, hey, I've got a lot on my plate right now. I hear what you say, and it sucks. I'm just full myself, as it were, with emotional stuff going on. But we always look for the shortcut, and we don't think that we can say those types of words. We don't think that we can be honest with people because it's being vulnerable ourselves in a way. So we cover up our vulnerability with a snippet of stuff just to say, yeah, I'm done. I can't handle that. I'm moving on. It would be wonderful to educate this next generation, as PureGame is trying, but educate this next generation on really how to take their emotions and deal with all of them, work with all of them, understand that they're all there, that they're all part of our human experience, but we don't need to embody all of them. We can acknowledge them, see them, and say, oh, that's an emotion. Got it. I can now move on with something else.
Yep. And you bring up such a good point, because just because someone expresses to you that they're having a hard time doesn't mean you have to physically support them in some really tangible way, like a physical way. Sometimes all people need is a word of encouragement, feeling like they're seen, understood, heard, and that it's okay they're having a hard time. Sometimes all I need is for someone to say, oh, I'm really sorry. That sounds really hard. I see you. And I can relate to that. And it sucks. And also, to your point about the fact that, it's really valid that someone might come to you saying they're having a hard time, and maybe they do ask for your support in a more tangible, physical way, and you may not be able to give it, and that's okay. We're not saying you have to physically support every person who comes to you with a hard thing, especially because you have different levels of relationship with people. Maybe your boundary is that your best friend you would drop anything for no matter what, but maybe your acquaintance that you met last Tuesday, you're not going to drop everything in your life to go help this person because they sent you a text and said, hey, nice to meet you. FYI, I'm having a hard time. And so it is up to you to kind of decide what level of support you can offer to this person. The point we're trying to make here is that the language we use can either be toxic or supportive. You get to choose where you go after that. But just for you to be mindful of the words that you're using really do affect other people, and they affect how you perceive life and how you interact with life. And so our challenge for you today is to, for one, just think about this. Think about the ways that you tell yourself toxic positivity, the ways that you say toxic positivity type phrases or things to people around you, what it feels like when people say things like that to you, and to find some more healthy, supportive ways to say some of these things to yourself and others. And honestly, it'll probably help those around you to be more supportive to you too. So take a look at the link that we sent you, read over it, or it's in the description, and next time someone tells you that they're having a hard time, challenge yourself to say something that's actually healthy and supportive. You can literally take a line from the article on the Psychology Group website, memorize it, and that is what you will tell people. So go out there and be a healthy, supportive friend, those around you, and we will see you right back here next week.
Yes, thank you very much. Tiffany, that was awesome.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Tony. Bye. Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. We hope you feel encouraged and motivated to keep growing with us. If you like what we do here at PureGame, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube, and you can donate at our website, www.thepurgame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here next week.